Good morning, everyone. You can probably hear my son screaming in the background, and luckily I was muted when my husband came to drop my coffee off. Okay.
Morning, Dr. Hill.
All right, we're just waiting for a few more people. So we're gonna have a short class today. So I know that's very exciting for everyone. In the first section, class was only about 40 minutes. So very exciting. So what we're gonna do today is take our first, well, everybody took the quiz, right? Did anybody have any problems with that? No problems? Okay, good. So I was told in the last class that they couldn't see their grades, so I figured out that issue. So you should be able to see your grades. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play Jeopardy first so that you guys can hear the answers to the quiz questions, and occasionally there's more than one answer. So I'll open up the floor for you guys to shout in the other answers that you had. And then we're gonna go over the policy brief, which is the big assignment that's due for your class this semester. And we're just gonna go over all things policy brief. So your first policy brief workshop week is not until week 6, but that does not mean you should wait until week 6 to begin this. So we'll go into more detail about that in a minute, but let's see. Today we have Joseph. Where's Joseph?
Right here.
Okay, I see you. Thomas, there's Thomas. And Ryan, I see you. Okay, you three pop your mics on. And let me bring up the slideshow. Okay. Can we all see the PowerPoint? Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do, let me just, let's see, we got Thomas, Joseph, and Ryan. Okay, so you three just have your mics on. So you're all in like different corners of my screen. So normally during class, what I would do is have you raise your hand, but I can't like keep my eyes all over the whole screen. So I'll just have you shout out the answer and we'll go from there. Okay, you ready?
False.
False.
False. Did Thomas, hold on, let me turn my volume up. I can't really hear you. Was that you, Thomas?
I think it was Joseph that said it first.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay. So it was Thomas or Ryan?
Yeah.
I think it was Ryan.
Okay.
It was Ryan.
Good God. Ryan, were you the one that said false?
I did say false.
Okay. All right. That is the correct answer. Here we go. Okay. Question number 2.
Nothing works.
Oh, God. Did you guys say that at the exact same time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, you're both right, so I'm going to give you guys both a point for that. Okay. Nothing works is the correct answer.
True.
Yes. Thomas, was that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 2 for Thomas.
True.
True.
Was that Joseph first? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. True is correct.
The boomer theory
Wages.
suggests
Wages.
that
I think Thomas was saying it first. The baby boomer theory, yes, that is the correct answer. All right, there are 2 other answers. What are the other answers? Stephen, what did you put?
I put the baby boomers growing out of crime.
Yeah, that's the one that Thomas said. What are the other
Okay.
2?
Higher wages in the late 90s or late 80s and early 90s.
Yep. So the economy, there's one more. Did anybody put the third one?
I'm trying to remember the third
Roger,
one.
what's the third one?
I'd put age curve.
That's the same thing as the baby boomer theory. So the baby boomer is aging out of crime, but there was one more.
Was it the abortion one?
That's part of, I throw that into demographics. There's one more.
Hmm.
What's the big
Trying to
policy,
think.
the big policy change that we had during that, before that time period?
That the massive amount of people that were taken out of the population
Exactly.
weren't able to commit any crimes for an amount of time, so that led to the decline.
Exactly, incapacitation. So the three big causes of the Great American Crime Decline are incapacitation, demographics, and the economy. Very good. Okay, so Thomas is our winner. So you're going to come back once everybody plays through, then we're going to have the champions play the champions, and then we'll have it down to 3. The last 3 standing get extra credit on the final exam. But Joseph and Ryan, you guys also get a 5 out of 5 for playing. And that is how Jeopardy works. And it's a little bit weird virtually because it's hard for me to tell who said things first. But I think it worked out pretty nicely. Okay, so you guys should all be able to see your quiz grades. If you can't, let me know. And I'll try to figure out why that is. But I went through and had to click, I had to click to post them. I thought when I put them in, they were automatically posted, but that is not true. So I went ahead and posted those. Thomas, Joseph, and Ryan, I will change your grade from a 0 to a 5 out of 5 as soon as we're done here. Okay, let me just.
Dr. Hill.
Yes.
So like I put everything they had just said, and I got like a 4 out of 5.
Okay, I'll look into that. It's possible that last one where you write it in, if you like either misspelled something or something like that, or wrote it in a way that it didn't understand what you were saying, I'll go in and double check all that for you. Because it like doesn't give me the option to like actually grade that answer. I have to like write it in. So I'll double check. What did you put for the 5th question?
I think I just wrote age curve.
That might be why. Okay, I'll go in and double check, and I'm going to go through and double check everybody's 5th answer where there might have been a little, like the computer might not have understood that. Like, I know when you say age curve, you're talking about demographics, but the computer, I think I wrote baby boomers and demographics as like the 2 choices that it would like pick up on. So I'll go through and make sure that everybody gets credit for that. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty, let's talk about the policy brief. Any other questions about the quiz or anything else before we start talking about this?
I do, Dr. Hill.
Yes.
So, what is quiz 1 or quiz 2? Like, what does that cover exactly? The one that's due today.
The
Later on
lecture
tonight.
that one is evidence-based correction. So that lecture that we went over on what's today? On Tuesday.
Okay, so like literature reviews and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. So you can always tell the quiz number correlates with the lecture number. So if it's quiz 2, it's based on lecture 2. If it's quiz 1, it's based on lecture 1. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so actually that's a good point, Joseph. While we're on that subject, so today between 10:45 a.m. and 10:45 p.m., everybody needs to take quiz 2 with the exception of Dev. I see you right there. Josh, I see you right there. And I still don't see Danielle. So do we have Brian Hall today? No. Brian. Sean, you're up. I see you there. Okay. So you're like kind of on deck. Actually, we're just going to have you play. Don't take your quiz today. I'll email Brian Hall and figure out what's going on with him. And Danielle, I think, is like on leave doing something Army related. So we'll just have Dev, Josh, and Sean. You 3 don't take your quiz today. Everybody else take it online. And then on Tuesday, you 3 will take it during like at the beginning of class, just like we did it today. So let me just make a note of that. And there we go. Okay. All right. Other questions before we start talking about the policy brief? All righty. Let's discuss this monstrosity of a project. Okay, so what I'm going to pull up is the policy, the step-by-step guide. So this I created to help you guys do this assignment. This is available in a number of your modules. So I put this in oh, hold on, I have two chats. Quick. Oh, Colton. And yeah, okay, I got you guys. I'll double check everybody's answers and make sure the computer got it. Okay, don't you worry about that. Okay, so I have made this policy brief step-by-step guide available in a number of modules. It's available in today's module because we're talking about it, and I also put it in week 6 and week 10. I forget whatever the other week is where we're just working on policy briefs. Week 11 and week 6. Both of them also have this policy brief step-by-step guide available. So let me just sort of explain the project, and then we're going to go through exactly how you do it. So what you're going to be doing here is choosing a topic. So you're going to be choosing something that we can, that we're going to test how effective this program or policy is. So you have to pick something that you can test, okay? And you have to pick something that there's enough articles on it for you to be able to assess the effectiveness of this. That's the point of this project, is how effective is some program or policy? And we're going to base it on a literature review. So I'm going to use prison education just as an example. So if you choose prison-based education for your topic, that is what we refer to as your independent variable. So we are testing the effectiveness of this program on your outcome variable or your dependent variable. So your dependent variable is going to it depends on the articles that you pick. So if it's possible, you're going to want to try to find 5 articles with the same dependent variable. So let me give you a specific example. So if our topic or our independent variable is prison-based education programs, you might want to try and find 5 articles of those programs, their effectiveness on recidivism, which is our outcome or our dependent variable. You may only find 3 articles that look at the effectiveness of prison education on recidivism, and then 2 that look at the effectiveness on prison education on prison misconduct. So in that instance, you would have 2 dependent variables. It's not the end of the world, but if you can narrow it down, like the more narrow you make your topic, the easier it becomes in the long run. So that's basically what we're doing, is we're finding 5 articles that are testing the effectiveness of some program or policy of your choice. And the way that we're doing this is we're going to find these 5 articles, which I'm going to go over the library website today and show you the easiest way to find these articles. And you're going to look at the research design, the results, and the literature review, or I'm sorry, in the limitations. You're going to be listing that in one big section. After you find the results, you're going to come up with policy implications. So we're going to practice this all semester. So basically, if you have 5 articles that show that prison-based education programs reduce recidivism, your policy implication is implement prison-based education programs to reduce recidivism. So starting with quiz 3, like I said, we're going to practice this all semester because throughout the entire semester, I'm going to, as we talk about prison programs, I'm going to talk about the research out there that shows whether or not these programs are effective, and we'll practice creating policy based on this on the research that I'm giving you. So starting with quiz 3, the 5th question of your quizzes each week is going to be name a policy implication from that lecture. So you're going to be doing this all semester. So let me just say, you want to start with step 1. I know that sounds like I shouldn't have to say that, but I do, because you're actually going to start in the middle of this paper. So the very last part of this paper, I'm telling you to put your sections in a specific order. So a policy brief is front loaded. If you've never seen one before, this is kind of the way that they're always set up. So basically you start with an executive summary. So the person, if these are used to make policy all the time. So policymakers will reach out to researchers and say, hey, we're looking at funding this program. Can you submit some information about this? And this is something that I do a lot. So you want to front load that policy brief with, this is a brief description of the program, and then a bulleted list of recommendations based on the research. But you cannot give those recommendations until you actually do the research. So when you do this policy brief, you actually start in the middle. So we're going to start with the literature review. So you do this first, and then you're going to write these sections in a bunch of different order, and then order it the way that I'm telling you to order it right here. So a lot of students will see that the executive summary is the first part of this project, and they'll try to start with that, which is all kinds of backwards, because you cannot tell me what the policy is if you don't know what the research says. So you have to start with the research. So we're going to start with the literature review. So step one is to choose a topic. So like I said, you want your independent variable to be one thing that you're interested in. So some examples are any program in prison, whether that's an education program or vocational programs. So a vocational program is like an education program, but instead of teaching you like math and English and science, they're teaching you how to do a specific tool or trade. Like they'll teach you welding or plumbing or computer technology. You can also look at, if you're interested in gang members, there's a couple of programs that you can look at. There's a program called the GREAT program. Are you guys all familiar with DARE? Did everybody have that growing up? James, you didn't have that? Okay, DARE was a program that was instituted in the mid-'80s, I think. And basically, Stephen, do you have a question, or are you saying you went through DARE?
No, I've heard about DARE.
Okay, so basically what DARE did was they sent police officers into lower schools and middle schools and taught kids about drugs. The intent was to try to keep them off of drugs, but when I went through DARE in the 4th grade, I just had a police officer teach me all about drugs and how to do drugs. So it just basically informed me how to do drugs. It's highly ineffective, which is probably why they don't have it a lot anymore and why a lot of you guys aren't familiar with it. The GREAT program is kind of the same concept, but for gang members. So if you're from the inner city, you are from some high crime inner city, for instance, Chicago, they have the GREAT program in those schools. They have law enforcement officers go into schools and teach kids about gangs and why you don't want to join gangs and conflict resolution and stuff like that. So if you're interested in gangs, that's a program you could look into. And we're not going to talk about this until week 10. Another program for gangs that students often like to look at is a program called Cure Violence. So basically what this program does is it hires a group of people called violence interrupters who are former gang members. And whenever there's a gang shooting, so say a Blood shoots a Crip, they send out violence interrupters to both sides and try to mediate the conflict and to try to get both sides to stand down to reduce retaliatory violence. What they're trying to avoid is having a Blood shoot a Crip, and then a Crip shoot a Blood, and then a Blood shoot a Crip, and just back and forth and back and forth. So they're trying to get both sides to stand down and let law enforcement do their investigations and to stay out of it. So that program is called Cure Violence. It used to be called Ceasefire, but then they underwent a name change. So if you see Ceasefire, that's the same thing as Cure Violence. If you're interested in sex offenders, you could look at residence restrictions. So those are the things that say you're not allowed to live near a school, right? Or a park or any place that a child might congregate. You could look at civil commitment. And again, these are all topics that we're going to talk about as we go through this semester. Civil commitment is something that started in the 80s, but was revitalized in the early 2000s. Basically, what civil commitment is that if the state deems you a sexually violent predator, they can hold you indefinitely in prison. So basically, you serve your sentence. If the state says you're a sexually violent predator, then they send you to another prison where the focus is rehabilitation, but there is no end in sight. You get released when they deem you rehabilitated, and only about like 3% of the entire population of people that have been civilly committed have ever been released. You could look at community notification laws. So those are things like, if you're a sex offender and you move into a neighborhood, you have to put like a sign in your yard that says like, "Hi, I'm a pedophile," or they make you go door to door and introduce yourself as a pedophile. So those are just some examples. You could also do drug offenders. You could look at drug treatment programs in prison. You could look at drug court. If you're interested in mental health, you could look at mental health treatments in prison, or we also have mental health court. If you are interested in military stuff, we have started doing veterans treatment courts as well. So if you're a veteran and you get caught up in the criminal justice system, basically what we're going to do is try to route you out of prison and put you on probation, but make you check in with the judge more frequently and go to treatments that are helpful for combat veterans. They give you a veteran mentor that can help you through the process. We actually have a brand new veterans treatment court here in the city of Charleston that I was able to go sit in on a couple of sessions with a former student of mine. Let's see, what else? If you're interested in, I had a student last semester look at prison nurseries as well. So that's exactly what it sounds like. If you're pregnant when you go to prison, or turn up pregnant when you are incarcerated, which happens, basically they allow you to keep your child in the prison for, it really depends on the state, but some say up to 6 months. Some will allow you to keep your child in prison for 18 months. So those are just some examples of programs or policies that you could look at. You can also just start scanning through the lectures, and you will see all the lectures are already available within each module. So you can get some examples of programs that you might want to look or choose as your topic. If you're completely lost and you just need me to help with that, I can do that. Just shoot me an email. We can either just email back and forth, or we can schedule a Zoom call and we'll help out. I can help you pick a topic out. So that needs to be your first step, is choosing a topic, something that you would like to research, and choose something that you're interested in because you're going to be doing this all semester. So that's step one. Step two is to start collecting your articles. So we're going to be using the library website for this. You are not going to be using Google, and let me explain why. Google, anybody can put anything on the internet, and if you Google it, you may not be getting accurate information. I want you to be using scholarly peer-reviewed articles. You want to be doing that because you know that that information is verified. So every time I submit an article for publication, I have to submit 2 versions of it. One that has my name on it, and one that I have no name on it, no affiliation, no nothing. So anybody that's reading my article doesn't know it's me. Then they send that out to 3 experts in the field, and I don't know who those experts are. They read through line by line and check every single thing that I have said. Any problems that they have with it, they send it back to me and I have to fix it. So when you're looking at a scholarly journal, it has been verified, it has been gone through by experts in the field. You know that information is correct. So that's why we have to use scholarly journals. The reason that you don't want to use Google Scholar is because a lot of times you'll find an article and you'll click on it and it's going to ask you to pay for it. If you use the library website, they have a budget of like millions of dollars to be able to pay for the subscription so that you don't have to pay for those access to those articles. So a lot of times if you click on Google Scholar and you're on Citadel Wi-Fi and it brings you to the article, the only reason is because since you're on Citadel Wi-Fi, it routed you through the library. So if you try to do it off campus or you're not on Citadel Wi-Fi, it's going to ask you to pay for the article. So just go through the library website. You can also filter a lot more easily than going through Google Scholar. So in a minute, we're going to go pop on the library website and I'm going to show you how to do this. So just a quick note about selecting these articles. So the point of this assignment is to see if something works, okay? So when you're picking an article, you want to look for things, just the title can tell you right away if this is going to work for this assignment. So the effect of something on something, analyzing the effectiveness. If you see the word outcome within the title, those are all indications that you're on the right track. What you don't want is an article that's like just telling you about the types of drug courts in a particular area. That's not going to help us, right? We want to know, do they actually work, right? So your article needs to focus on the main question, does this program or policy work? And if you can't tell from the title, you want to read the abstract before you select that article. So let's head over to the library website. And let me pull that up really quickly. And I'll show you the best way to do this. Okay, so you can search right here in this discovery box, this quick search, but it's not gonna, you can't filter it as easily, and you're gonna have to wade through a lot more articles than if you just go to a database that focuses on your topic specifically. So for instance, if I type in prison education programs right here, it's going to pull a lot of things on prison and on education that aren't necessarily prison education programs. But if I go to a criminal justice database, it's going to understand that I'm talking about something criminal justice related, and it will filter out all that stuff that's not related. So if you hover over research and you click on databases, my favorite database is Criminal Justice Abstracts. So I click on C, Criminal Justice Abstracts. Then if we just type in prison education programs, I like to click specifically scholarly peer-reviewed journals so that it's not pulling films or books or anything like that. All right, so we have 71 possible articles. Okay, so let's look at this first one. The relationship between prison education programs and misconduct. Does this look like it would work for our project? What do we think? Yes or no?
Maybe, depending
Maybe.
Yes.
I want a yes or a no, Stephen.
on the, yes.
Yes. Very good answer. So if you're not sure, if it looks like it's good, but you want to double check, if you hover over this little ditty right here, you can read the abstract and it will give you more information right here. All right. What do we think about this one? Do you think this one would work for our project?
Yes,
Why?
because it's the participatory evaluation in
Okay,
a
so what does
prison
that mean to you?
education.
What does it mean to participate?
One who either
Participate.
is a part of this study or just is involved.
Okay. This I would not choose. So first of all, it's not actually a prison education program in the sense that we're talking about. If you look right here where it says Inside Out, that is a totally separate program, which I wouldn't expect you to know. And this is why I want you to show me your articles so that I can weed them out before you get too deep into this. Inside Out is actually a really cool program that I doubt we would ever be able to do here, but I think it would be interesting. Basically, you take a group of college students, you bring them into a prison, and they sit in a classroom with inmates, and you guys all learn together. You take a class with prison inmates in a prison. I have been trying to I just don't think this would ever work at the Citadel, because getting you guys off campus is such a pain, and the closest prison is pretty far away. It's about 45 minutes away. So we have our local jail, but it's really hard to do that because jail inmates are in and out, in and out, in and out. So it's hard to get a solid group. I digress. So not only is this the wrong independent variable, if we look at the abstract, basically it yields insights related to having team members who are in this program. This isn't looking at the effectiveness of this program. It's talking about think tanks. A participatory evaluation means that you fill out a survey about your experience participating in this program. So if you were doing prison education programs and you showed me this article, I would weed it out right away because it's not really what we're looking for here.
Okay.
What about this third one? Do we like that one?
Yes.
Yes, I like that one too. What about this
Yes,
one?
because the previous one, because under the subject, it has recidivism rates.
Mm-hmm. That's good. We like that. What about number 4?
Yes.
Yep, I like that one too. So you can already see that we've got a couple of different dependent variables in here. So this one's inmate misconduct. The first one was also inmate misconduct. So if you wanted, you could try to find 3 others looking at that dependent variable as well, or you could just look at the effect of prison education programs on misconduct and recidivism. This one looks at both of these right here. See prison return, that's recidivism as well. Sorry, my dog is drinking so loudly in the background. Okay. What about this one?
Yes.
No. Look at this. Considerations
Oh.
from that's going to be like, what was your experience in this program? This isn't, does it work, right? So you want to be really careful. But look right here. The effect of prison education programs on recidivism. That's what we're looking for. That's a clear-cut yes. Okay? All right. So the next thing we're going to briefly talk about is organization. So every single semester, what I have students do is just click on this and then email themselves the link. Then when I ask them to start working on it, like a couple of weeks later, they spend 30 minutes looking for the links in their email. And occasionally the links are dead. If you have to do that, you want to click permalink, which, if my computer would be a little bit faster, over here. If you must do this, click permalink, because otherwise you'll click on it later and it won't be available. What I recommend is creating a folder on your desktop for this project and saving the actual PDF, okay? So you want to click on this PDF, you want to save it, download it and save it. That way, when we start working on this in a few weeks, the first 20 minutes of our Zoom session isn't you trying to find the 5 articles, okay? I can't tell you how many times that happens. Personally, what I would also do is, as I'm trying to, whenever I'm doing a lit review, I'll open up this just like this, and if I see an article that I like, I right click it and open it in a new tab and then keep scrolling. And then I'll open up like 5 or 6 articles and then go back and look and see if they all work. If they don't, then I still have this screen up here. So these are all PDF full text. I'm trying to find one. Okay, right here. So first of all, do we like this article?
Yes.
Why do we like it, Stephen?
The phrase, the effect of.
Very good. we also have this special statistical term that we like.
PSM.
Yes, PSM. So you see where it says full text finder? This just means you have to click more buttons to get to the article. So sometimes it'll load right here. If it doesn't, you can click on that. Then you click here. Is it letting you see all the screens that I'm looking at, or are you still looking at them? Okay. And then here we can download it. So don't be scared away if you see full text finder. That just means you have to click like 3 more buttons to get to it. Okay. So that's what we're going to do to find your 5 articles. Now let's talk about the next steps. So once you have your 5 articles, then you're going to start gathering all the information that you need for your literature review. So the 3 things that you have to note about each article are the research design. Come on, computer. The results and the limitations. And if you'll recall, this is one of the last things that we talked about in our lecture on Tuesday. So here's how I would like for you to write it up. The very first draft is just you gathering information about your articles. So what I recommend is starting with a citation at the top, because you're going to need this citation for your reference section. So you might as well write it up right now so you can keep track of who said what. So are we all familiar with APA, or does somebody prefer MLA? Everybody likes APA?
APA is so much easier.
Yes, you are very correct. MLA is the worst. If you've had me as a professor before, you've heard me bitch about MLA. Just use APA, because you're gonna have to use in-text citations where you're giving me like you're gonna say a sentence that was that you got from that article, and then you're gonna give me the author of the year. MLA makes you give the page number, and this project is gonna be peppered with in-text citations. If you do MLA, then you have to note the page number every single time you pull a fact from that article, and that's very annoying. So APA just uses the year it was published. That does not change. That makes it easier. So if you're not familiar with how to put this into APA format, you can use the citation builder. If you want, just double check it, because it makes a lot of mistakes, and I'm gonna nitpick about that. But I can help you with this as well. So I would start with a citation at the top. Then I would have research design, results, and limitation underneath. And then as I start reading through the article, I would literally just copy and paste the stuff from that article where it belongs, right? So as you're reading through this article and you see stuff that belongs in the research design section, you can just copy and paste it right here. Results section, copy and paste it right here. Limitations, copy and paste it here. Keeping in mind, this is just a draft. You're going to have to write it up in your own words later. But as you're just gathering the stuff that you need, it's just easiest to copy and paste. And I've told students this before. I made the mistake when I was an undergrad of copying and pasting some stuff and writing some stuff in my own words on that draft. And then when I went to write it up, I couldn't remember what was mine, what was my words, and what was copy and pasted. So if you just copy and paste everything, you know that you have to put everything in your own words. So you're going to go through and copy and paste that, all this down. So this is the first article. Then you're going to repeat that process for the other 4 articles, okay? Before you go any further, I would like to see what you've got right here, okay? Because I want to make sure that the research design is correct, that your results are correct, and that if your limitations make sense based on this study. So our first policy brief workshop week is not until week 6. This is what I want to be looking at week 6, is that draft of all 5 of your articles with the research design, results, and limitation. That being said, you do not have to wait until week 6 to do this, and I recommend that you do not do that. What I've told the other class is I would like to have like kind of a soft deadline of sometime next week. I'd like for you to email me your topic and at least one article. That way I can make sure that you're on the right track. I'm not going to grade it. I'm not going to hound you. I'm not going to track you down. I just would recommend that. If you would like to have a weekly Zoom meeting with me to have me help you do this, I am happy to do that. That would make me so happy if every single person had a standing appointment with me every week and we just worked on this together. My job is to help you do this, so let me do that, okay?
So,
So,
Dr. Hill,
oh, yes.
so we only need 5 sources.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how many pages does it have to be?
Oh my God, Roger. Students ask me this every semester. You know what?
Really, Vera?
So, honest
Okay,
question.
the page number, you need at least 5 pages, but let me put it this way. If you give me 5 pages, you're probably not going to get an A, okay? It takes what it takes. So look how many sections you have to do, Roger. Does this look like 5 pages to you?
Not if it's not going to give me an A.
No. Usually they're about 10 pages. But when I say that, you guys freak out. So I just say 5 so that you don't. I don't really care as long as you do the things that I'm asking you to do. Okay. Just like in my intro class, you have to write that 5-page paper, but I told you I would prefer 4 pages of beautifulness as opposed to 4 pages of beautifulness and like 1 page of bullshit. Okay. Just do what you got to do. Don't be thinking about page numbers. Does that answer your question? Very good. Okay, so we're starting in the middle. Do not try to start with that executive summary because you can't tell me the executive summary and what you recommend until you do the research. So by week 6, when you guys are all required to at least have 1 Zoom appointment with me, I would like to see this done. This is honestly the hardest part right here. Everything after that is so much easier. So the next step after you've done this is underneath each result, you're going to write a policy implication. So right here, you can see the result. This is actually from the article that we looked at the other day. No statistically significant differences between on probation and drug court in terms of new arrests, but they were less likely to be sentenced to prison and have less technical violations. So our policy implication here is implement drug courts to reduce the number of prison sentences and technical violations. Because remember, it doesn't affect new arrests, it only affects these 2 things. So after that, you're actually going to start writing. Up until that point, you're just compiling information. So step 5 is actually writing up your literature review section. So this right here will be 1 paragraph. So your lit review section should be 5 paragraphs, 1 paragraph per article that you're summarizing. So all this stuff that you copied and pasted, you're going to write it out in your own words with beautiful in-text citations. After that, it becomes markedly easier. Then you're just sort of writing a book report at that point. The next step, I want you to write the statement of the problem. So the statement of the problem is, why do we need this program or this policy? So for instance, if our topic is prison education programs, our statement of the problem is that prisoners are undereducated compared to the rest of the population, which makes it harder for them to get a job, which makes them more likely to go back to prison. So we would want to educate prisoners because they're undereducated and therefore underemployed. You're not going to need to do additional research to fill this stuff in. All of these peer-reviewed articles, I'm sure that you've noticed that they're very long. They include all of this information. Most scholarly articles, when they're testing the effectiveness of something, will start with a statement of the problem. So usually somewhere within that first 2 pages, you're going to see the statement of the problem. So if we look at the article that we saw the other day, let me just pull this up so you can see it. This Dew and Clark article right here. So we've got the abstract right here, but here we've actually begun the article. Here is the statement of the problem right here. most people in prison are coming back. Incarceration affects this population. They're employed less likely. They're less likely to be under or employed. They make less money. Thus, prison-based education and career training may be a successful component of reentry. So they're saying this is the problem, is that these people are coming back, they're undereducated, and they're underemployed, which is why we need prison education. So they're going on and on, like 2 pages of statement of the problem. You don't need to give me that much, but I'm telling you, this is how most of these articles will start. The next section I would like for you to write is a description of the topic, which is what is a prison education program? Again, your article is going to give you that information. You're just going to have to find it in there. And again, I can help you do that. The next section is the prevalence section. So do these programs exist nationwide, and do they exist in South Carolina? So somewhere within your article, one of your 5 articles, it will most likely tell you if these programs exist in all 50 states. If you're having trouble finding that information, I can help you with that. The other thing I want to know is, does this exist in South Carolina? So I've given you the link to the list of programs in the South Carolina state prisons. If you're doing something that isn't a prison program, so if you're doing like drug court, we'll have to go to the Solicitor General's website. If you don't see it on there, let me help you with that section. This is the only time you can use Google, where we're going to look to see if South Carolina has these programs. I know the Solicitor General's site talks about all the specialized courts we have, like the Veterans Treatment Court, the drug court, the mental health court. We talk about a prostitution court in I think week 7 or something like that. That program only exists in Maryland and a few other states, so I can help you with that section. But if you're doing a prison-based rehabilitation program, chances are this link will tell you if we've got it. Then you're going to write your executive summary. So you actually write the first part of your paper last. So the executive summary is just a brief paragraph about your topic. And the last sentence is going to be, based on a review of the literature, the following policy implications are recommended. And up here, where you wrote your policy implication under each result, you're going to list it in the executive summary as a bullet point. So if somebody in the Senate or something just has a few minutes to read this to decide if they're going to vote to fund this program, they can look really briefly and see your bulleted list and determine if this is something worth pursuing. Then you're going to take that bulleted list of implications, put it at the bottom, and under each implication, you're going to give me a sub-bullet with a citation of the research that supports it. So what you're going to find is most likely you'll have between 3 and 5 recommendations, and you'll probably have multiple studies supporting the same implication. So for instance, education reduces recidivism, right? So you might have a policy implication that says implement prison education programs to reduce recidivism. And then under that, in this last section here, you might have a list of all 5 citations because all 5 of your studies supported that. So just like that, it'll look just like this. This project is going to take you all semester. So please do not wait until then to begin it. So you guys are all required to have a one-on-one Zoom session with me by week 6. But again, you can have as many sessions as you want. Like I said, I've had students in the past that have had standing weekly appointments with me to just work on this, and I'm happy to do that. So what I think we should do is have a soft deadline of next week. If you want to email me your topic and at least 1 article, I can just make sure you guys are on the right track. So as far as sharing the article with me, what I'd like for you to do is if you could attach the PDF so I could see the article, that would be best. Or if you want to just send me the citation and the abstract, I might be able to tell from that as well. But if I could see the full article, that would be better. If you want to send me 10 articles and say, which 5 should I choose? That's fine. If you would like to go ahead and get started writing up your draft, I can help you with that. So if this is kind of a self-paced project, there are 2 points in the semester where I require that you to work with me one-on-one. But I definitely recommend that you do it more than 2 points during the semester. That make sense? Do we have any questions about this project? Okay. I see a lot of overwhelmed faces, which is super normal. This happens every semester. This is a big project. It requires a lot of work and it requires a lot of critical thinking. I'm happy to help, like I said, the entire time. And it's not uncommon for students to get a 30 out of 30 on this when they work with me, and they do really well. If you try to go rogue and do this without any assistance, you're probably not going to do super well. That's not really the job of a professor, is to just give a bland assignment and have you guys go rogue. It's my job to help you. So use me, and especially since I'm teaching online, I'm available almost all the time. So I can Zoom with you within reason almost every single day. I'm happy to do it on the weekends, whatever works for y'all's schedule. Please don't try to schedule Zoom meetings after like 11 p.m. I don't want to do that. And I know, James, very upsetting. And I obviously can't do it during class. I'm teaching Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 until the end of your class, so I can't do it then. All right, any questions for me? Okay, see, I told you guys, short class today. All right, so everybody needs to take their second quiz with the exception of Deb, Josh, and Sean. So it will be available in about 20 minutes. It's based on lecture 2. So if you want to go through that. Nobody had any problems with the lockdown browser, right?
No.
Okay, Stephen had no problems. Okay. All right, well, I will be on the computer most of the rest of the day should you have problems or you want to get started on this project. I'm happy to, let's see, what am I doing? I have a 3:30 meeting today, human trafficking stuff. And
Lovely.
yeah, I'm not meeting 2 human traffic people. I'm meeting about the task force, just to be clear.
Yeah, I know. I just don't support the human trafficking.
Nobody should. It's terrible. So to be clear, I'm on a task force to reduce it.
That's
I'm
good.
not trying to support it. So that's at 3:30. So other than that, I'm open almost the rest of the day. So shoot me an email if you want to run your topic by me, or if you'd like to have a Zoom session and we can start working on this right away. All right. See you guys on Tuesday.